Hey guys, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight and hope you stay with the whole video. I've got quite a few things I want to go over. This first was brought to my attention when I saw this on the All News Pipeline. I'll leave the links for all these sites I'm going to in the description so you can actually visit these sites yourself. 40 million Russians going to bunkers during October 4th to October 7th drills. What do the Russians know that the American people don't know? Well, for those of you who are awake, you know the news and what's going on, but there may be some who do not. So I'm going to go through that. Let's just take a brief look at this article. This is a recent story, according from this. I got it from the Associated Press, that there is a massive drill involving 40 million Russian people. These are civilians, professionals, emergency personnel, who will be having drills over the next 3 days about what would happen if there was a terrorist attack or a nuclear attack on their city. Now, I went to this link that was right here, and it took me to the following page. Now, on this page, it talks, this is actually from a direct translation from a Russian newspaper, that they are in fact going to be holding this drill. It will involve the full force of the Russian emergency ministries, emergency rescue units, paramilitary units, state inspector for small boats, a division of the state fire service of the Russian aircraft. According to Mr. Manilov, the action will be worked on evacuation, issuance of personal protective equipment, sanitary deployment at certain points. Okay, and then I got to thinking to myself, why would they do that? What has changed that the media hasn't been talking about that we as American citizens may need to know? Because make no mistake, if Russia is hit, they will respond. Just like if we were hit, we would respond. At least I would hope we would. So I did some further digging, and this is what I found. There are reports. Now, granted, this is from RT, which is a Russian press. They have deal with the devil, U.S. ready to ally with terror to overthrow Assad, according to the Russia Foreign Ministry. Basically, they're saying that we, as the United States military, will be aligning ourselves with ISIS, that we are not distinguishing between the moderate rebels and the more extremist. Now, I'm not going to read through this whole article. You can go here yourself and read it. But it's very interesting. The situation in Syria has been unraveling. The diplomacy has becoming more and more strained. And now the United States has severed ties with Russia concerning Syria. According to this, Russia is saying that we are becoming more convinced that in a pursuit of a much desired regime change in Damascus, Washington is ready to make a deal with the devil. The Foreign Ministry said, for the sake of ousting Syrian President Bashar Assad, the U.S. appears to be ready to forge an alliance with hardened terrorists dreaming of turning back the course of history. Now, get that. They are alleging that the United States, who is in a war against terror and terrorists, is aligning ourselves with hardened terrorists. Okay, and so I just decided to delve a little deeper. What else is going on? There has to be other things, more repercussions coming from this. If we've cut diplomatic ties with Russia over Syria, or at least where Syria is concerned, and no longer trying to broker peace agreements or anything like that, there's other things going on. This is also from our team. Putin signs decree suspending Russia, U.S. deal on plutonium disposal over hostile U.S. actions. These hostile U.S. actions are really Syria, although they are citing other things. They're saying that the United States um, did not meet the agreement by wanting to mix the waste instead of running it through a reactor, because when you mix it, that is reversible, but when you run it through the reactor the way that they're doing it, then it is non-reversible. Now, they do say in this article that they do not plan on using this for weapon or anything weapon-based, but at the same time, this could be, and you really never know what the end game is. Are they really going to be using this to make more nuclear weapons? This is another article by RT where they talk about the U.S. decision to suspend Syria contacts, and they call that regrettable. There is also no alternative to trying to implement a ceasefire and to stopping the al-Nusra Front and ISIS while making sure that so-called moderate oppositions understand that time has come to lay down their weapons. Moscow does not accept responsibility for the breakdown in cooperation and says it has done everything to sustain the peace process, including implementing a 72-hour ceasefire late last month that should have ensued the delivery of humanitarian aid to Aleppo, the site of the most intense fighting between government forces. Russia also says that the White House kept covering up for extreme Islamists, making it impossible to produce a joint plan of operations, a key part of the bilateral proposal agreed a fortnight ago. Why could Washington not deliver what it promised to delineate between the terrorists, the al-Nusra Front, and the so-called moderate opposition, said Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria. United Nations Syria envoy Stefan said that his organization deeply regrets the communication breakdown between Moscow and Washington and promised to continue working on a diplomatic resolution to a war that has resulted in over 400,000 deaths, according to the UN's estimate. So the contacts between us and Russia have ceased where Syria is concerned, and there are other implications as well, which leads me to my next page. Russia says U.S. inviting terrorists to attack its cities. Russia has announced U.S. projection of possible attacks on Russian cities by terrorists fighting in Syria, saying the statement amounts to an invitation to terrorism. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov was outraged on Thursday after the U.S. Department spokesman John Kirby said terrorists in Syria could launch attacks against Russian interests, perhaps even Russian cities. Now, see, this is very, very important. Let's read that again. John Kirby said terrorists in Syria could launch attacks against Russian interests, perhaps even Russian cities. Now, how would he know what these terrorists were doing or what they would plan on doing? Think about that for a second. Let's take a look at this again. I went over this a while ago. Because we are making a deal with the devil, so to speak, which includes allying ourselves with terrorists. If we ally ourselves with terrorists, we know what they're going to do, and they will do our dirty work for us, such as planning attacks against a foreign national, foreign country, which in turn leads to this. 40 million Russians to take part in emergency evacuation drill. This is the result. The United States government wants to instill panic. They are trying to, I believe, start their endgame. Is this the beginning of World War III? I don't know. But just think, World War II started with an assassination of Duke Ferdinand. What's World War III going to start? Over Syria, maybe? Because we want to ally ourselves with terrorists to throw out somebody in one country while we claim to be fighting them in another? You can't do that. You can't befriend somebody in one country and say you're fighting them in another. That's a house of cards, and we all know what happens to a house of cards. Anyway, I know this has been a rather long video, and I do want to thank you for watching my video. Keep your eyes open. If you're not saved, get saved. Talk to people. Let them know what's going on. Share the video. Let them know what's going on. Thank you for watching my video. God bless.